Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, guys, before we get back to football here, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors to your favorite drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this is a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need an extra boost to stay sharp and energized. And golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, and lime flavors give you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com, you can use promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your first order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with any other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with your friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today.
All right, guys. So I don't know who this Evan. Who is this guy? This
Evan Cohen?
Who is Evan Cohen?
He is one of the co-hosts of Unsportsmanlike Conduct, which is a nationally syndicated ESPN radio show.
He's obsessed with talking about the Browns. They are
Yes.
constantly, I don't know. They're constantly talking about the Browns.
I can't even keep track of ESPN. I feel like they change their lineup every 3 months on that.
They're a morning show. It's him, Chris Canty, the former defensive tackle, and Michelle Smallman, who I know through a friend.
Okay.
But she started in St. Louis.
Is it any good, the show?
I don't listen to it.
I've never watched it.
Yeah, I've always seen the clips that are about the Browns.
It's a radio show, right?
It is.
I've never listened to it either.
But
I see the clips
But
online.
you know enough that Evan Cohen is obsessed with the Browns.
Because I see
Is
clips.
he from here?
I see clips all the time.
I have no idea.
They probably just do numbers, so they
Yeah.
just keep talking about it.
Okay. All right. So Evan Cohen from ESPN Radio apparently said the Browns are smart.
He basically
But
said...
Are we playing
Yeah,
the
we
clip?
have the clip. I have the clip ready for you guys.
Let's hear what he said.
I think the Cleveland Browns have actually done so many things that if they were wearing a different uniform, we'd consider it really smart. Think about this for a second. You have the owner of a team saying, I'm not a football person anymore, because I do believe that he made the Deshaun Watson decision, and thus I'm going to allow for the general manager and the coach to make decisions because they're football people. In addition, I think there are smart moves. They doubled down on Myles Garrett. That's smart. Double down by way of money, as well as we're going to bring in Mason Graham to play next to you from Michigan, who's only going to help you. They doubled down.
So you thought that was the right move?
Here we go. Here's why.
Right.
Here's why. They doubled down on Myles Garrett 2 ways. They doubled down on next year's draft, which is a quarterback draft, by getting their pick and the Jaguars' pick. They doubled down on the idea of doubling their chances of finding a diamond in the rough with 2 mid-round quarterbacks. One of them who slipped there in Shedeur Sanders, the other Dillon Gabriel. I think if the Cleveland Browns were wearing a different uniform and we had no preconceived negative notions about them, we would actually look at a lot of their decisions as intelligent this offseason. They don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. They probably don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. What they're doing is they have given themselves an opportunity to be really good for a really long time if Shedeur or Dillon Gabriel are good, because next year, having the 2 picks to do one of 2 ways, just taking them around them, or as you have said, CC, bait a team that desperately needs a quarterback to give you 2 picks each of the next 2 or 3 years, and you're set up for success. And what he said about Shedeur, now I don't like the owners commenting on the drafting of the player. I think that gets weird, but letting the football people...
He did it, though.
Yeah, he did it. He did it. No question. Letting the football people make the football decisions, I think is pretty damn smart now. It wasn't then.
What the hell was that? Did you take anything out of that?
Letting
the football people make football decisions? You're getting credit for that?
I agree with 85% of what he said. Like, because everybody.
But it's not like breaking news what he's saying.
No,
Yeah.
but everybody celebrated their draft picks, I think. Like, everybody celebrated the draft after the draft. Like, that's not.
Well, if they turn it into good picks.
But no, I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
it's been a couple months since the draft. Nothing's changed. Everybody celebrated it after. The only thing that I disagreed with was the Myles thing. Like, my stance on that's clear. I thought they should have traded him. And I haven't backed off that. I would have traded him. He didn't want to be here. He told you he didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And instead you paid him, like, the most ever.
Yeah.
That's what Jimmy does.
And gave him a no trade clause.
That's how he solves problems.
You know.
Is now your 2 highest paid players on the team both told you they didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And you gave them so much money, they said, all right.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with that part of it. And I've had NFL people text me that say that Shedeur pick was 100% Jimmy. And the Browns deny it, and they push back hard on that. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter anymore.
No.
So I don't know how much he's actually letting the football people make football. I think for the most part that's true. I think that he has come to the conclusion of, I don't know what I'm doing here. We need to let these guys run
But he
it.
said that as if that makes them smart. Doesn't every team do that, or almost every team do that?
No.
All the good teams do that. That's not. I mean, how many teams are worse than the Browns in terms of letting football people make this?
I mean, I think Robert Kraft is pretty involved in the day-to-day operations of the Patriots. He just had the best coach and the greatest quarterback ever.
So you think he was involved day-to-day when they were running things?
Yeah, I think Kraft is very involved.
In, making football decisions?
He's just involved.
But so is Jimmy.
Yeah, that's the point.
Right, but he was giving credit, to something that's obvious that any smart franchise should do, and we don't even know if the Browns are doing that.
In that whole clip, the baseline of the clip was that people have been crapping all over the Browns for their offseason. And I don't think
that's true.
No, that's not true at all.
I don't think anyone's really been taking a dump over Cleveland for what they've done. I think for the most part, Jason's right. The trade back from 2 to 5 could turn out to be great, could turn out to be a catastrophe, but at the time, it was applauded. The 2 quarterback situations, a little wonky for sure. Who made the picks? We still don't have 100% clarity, but it wasn't like anybody came out and said, oh my God, I can't believe the Browns did. What a horrific decision.
Yeah.
More than anything, Shedeur was labeled the steal of the draft, getting a guy that every person maybe not had a first-round pick on, but second, third-round pick in the 5th round at the most valuable position. The Myles Garrett thing we can go back and forth on, sure. I think what Evan Cohen should have said if he was going to make that point is what they've done this season is quite different than what they've done the past couple of off seasons where they have had moves that have been able to be picked apart, torn apart, and now we are looking at the moves they're making now based on their previous light. But frankly, when Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski and Jimmy Haslam, when they have the Deshaun Watson stain on their resume, it's hard to look past all that stuff and just pretend it doesn't exist.
And saying, well, if they had another jersey, you wouldn't be as critical. But they don't. They don't
have another jersey.
What you've done in the past matters, and it's hard to have faith that the Browns will get it right. He, like a lot of people, say, well, next year's a quarterback draft. First of all, we don't know that. I know the odds say that it will be, but we don't know that for sure. Secondly, what gives anybody faith that the Browns, even if it is a quarterback draft, will draft the right quarterback?
That's fair. That's more than fair.
Yeah. When the Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski regime took over in 2020, this team was looked at as in the thick of a championship window, on the beginning of a period where you had your quarterback, you had Nick Chubb, you had Myles Garrett, you had Denzel Ward, you had Joel Bitonio, you had Wyatt Teller, and they've made some good moves during the span. But back in 2020, 2021, 2022, we were looking at this team as competing for championships. We just spent 30 minutes ago, Bull, talking about how the only other team we're confident could be even in the same category of crap as the Browns is the Saints. So to say we should just give that whole regime a bypass,
I know,
they went from a top 10 roster to one of the worst rosters in football. You don't just get that clean slate.
No, that's
I agree,
silly.
this offseason they made some good moves. They deserve some credit and kudos for what they've done, but that doesn't override.
But I don't even know that they deserve credit because
let's see if it works out.
We're giving them credit based on paper, not on the field.
But the goals of the season were much different. They were under intense pressure to win the last few years, and that's not there anymore. After the Deshaun trade, it was win at all costs, and they made moves accordingly to try. And Jimmy's right. They haven't had a first-round pick on this roster. Yes, it was self-inflicted, but the reality is they haven't had a first-round pick on this roster for 3 years. So there is going to be a bereft of talent, particularly when you don't have the quarterback who can compensate for having holes on the roster. So now you take a completely different approach. I don't know that it's going to be the full 1-31 teardown that they went through a few years ago. I don't think they're doing that. But it is, hey, there's a lot of holes on this team. This is an old roster. Got to get younger, got to get playmakers, and that's what they tried to do. That's what they started to try and do with the process of drafting Judkins, drafting Sampson, Fannin as a developmental guy at tight end. And that's a process. It's a multi-year process in order to do that.
Right. Yes, and ultimately it will fail if they don't get the right quarterback.
Yeah, it will.
No matter how good the rest of the team is, it's hard, it's almost impossible to win without the right quarterback. But
I just don't get where Evan Cohen was getting the sense that everyone was critiquing the Browns for their moves.
I know. I don't know.
They've made some objectively terrible moves over the last couple of years. They made some good moves. In the course of 5-6 years, I bet you every GM in football, if they had that timeline, would have a handful of good moves and a handful of bad moves.
Well, in my mind, it's been a lot more bad than good.
When you're under intense pressure to win, you trade a second-round pick for Elijah Moore. Like, those are the type of moves that you make. Because,
and that was a colossal failure.
Yeah, and there's more than that. That's the first one that comes to mind, but they've had others like that because it was
I made a whole list.
win now. And that's no longer the case.
Yeah. Is Elijah Moore on a team?
Nope.
No, where is he? He's
Really?
He's a free agent.
Oh, my God.
I thought he signed somewhere, no?
Oh, I thought he still. Oh, he went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Did he?
Buffalo. He did. They gave Dustin Hopkins an extension, which.
That's not an intense move to win. That's just.
No, I'm just looking at moves that.
We're not.
You could look at the Browns
yeah.
and say, if another team did that, would you still criticize them?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you give a kicker an extension, he takes a gigantic regression back.
Yeah.
The
I didn't
Deshaun
like
Watson
that.
trade, any team. Doesn't matter if you're wearing a Cleveland uniform. If the same thing happened in Atlanta, we do the same thing. The free agency signings. Juan Thornhill was a disaster no matter where he went. John Johnson. I know all free agents
are national media members talking about those moves? They're not. Nobody's talking about that. That's only a local thing.
That's my point, though.
Yeah.
He's nitpicking these couple little
I
things
don't
they've
know.
done as opposed to
I don't know what the hell he was talking
all
about.
the big picture misses over the last 5 years.
Good luck to him.
They deserve their fair criticism, I think, at the end
Plenty.
of the day.
Yeah.
Is the
All right,